Anyone who has eaten a dung beetle knows that dung beetles are not only crunchy but also have a disgusting cow dung smell. And the first thing I did after being reborn was to spend a fortune to buy a golden-backed dung beetle. Then, suppressing my nausea, I swallowed it whole, all because the Crimson Apocalypse was about to arrive. 60% of humanity would undergo extreme mutations. Survivors would gradually awaken to their innate mechs and gain immense power. The awakened mechs were related to what one ate on that day. Some ate pigeons, and gained wings to soar across the skies. Some ate shark fins, and transformed into formidable rulers of the deep sea. There was even a weirdo who ate tempered glass, and their mech gained stealth capabilities. In my previous life, I ate a chicken that day. Although my mech awakened, after 2 years of practice, it could only sing, dance, rap, and play basketball. Eventually, during my pursuit of the Xi'an stone tablet, it was besieged and killed by others. Now, I've been reborn to the day before the apocalypse. I discovered that I had acquired the divine level mech talent, Zerg Dominator. As long as I ate bugs, I could endlessly absorb Zerg genes to enhance my innate mech. So, I immediately decided to find. At that moment, I was thrilled to see a piece of news on my phone. There was a place in Ning City holding an insect auction. Among the auctioned insects was a golden-backed beetle, a dung beetle. I immediately hailed a cab to the insect auction. At that moment, the auctioneer was introducing the items and rules on stage. The next item is the golden-backed beetle. Starting bid is 5,000. Each increment must be no less than 500. Now, let the bidding begin. The crowd below started chattering. What's a golden-backed beetle? Never heard of it. You're not in the circle, so it's normal you don't know. The beetle is just a dung beetle. However, regular dung beetles are entirely black. This one's back is golden, which is why it's so expensive. So, it's just a dung beetle? I thought it was something rare. People didn't seem too interested in the golden-backed beetle. Only a few people placed bids. I'll bid 8,000. A well-dressed man with a refined demeanor raised his paddle. The crowd, initially puzzled about who would spend so much on a dung beetle, immediately understood when they saw him. The man was nicknamed Bug Enthusiast. He was known for buying peculiar and rare bugs. He was quite famous in Ning City. Hearing Bug Enthusiast's bid of 8,000, others stopped bidding. That price was already beyond their limit. They weren't as obsessed as he was. 8,000, going once. Wait, I'll bid 10,000. I walked straight up to the auction platform. Ants can lift objects 400 times their own weight. That's already extraordinary, but beetles can lift objects 1141 times their own weight. If converted to human terms, it would be like a 70-kilogram person lifting an 80-ton object. I knew that with the current mech strength, it was impossible to bear such a massive boost. But by absorbing this beetle's genes, my combat power would significantly improve. Seeing an unexpected competitor show up, Bug Enthusiast felt very annoyed. He raised the bid to 10,500. But I wasn't backing down either, raising it to 15,000. Hearing my bid, Bug Enthusiast gave me a look, and asked in an irritated tone, "This golden-backed beetle isn't that rare. At most, it's a little ornamental. Why are you so determined to get it? What will you do with it?" "I'm not going to admire it, nor do anything else. I'm buying it to eat." Upon hearing my answer, the entire venue erupted in shock. "You're buying it to eat?" Bug Enthusiast was momentarily stunned, then burst out laughing. "You must be out of your mind." Everyone else present joined in the laughter. Then Bug Enthusiast scoffed, and turned back to the auctioneer. "This guy is clearly not mentally stable. Just sell it to me for 8,000. The auctioneer was visibly unhappy. A low auction price meant less commission. "Sir, if you're trying to cause trouble, I'll have to call security." Hearing this, I took out my bank card. "Can I pay by card?" The auctioneer was skeptical. He swiped it through the POS machine. Sure enough, there was money. His face lit up with joy. Bug Enthusiast, now unable to win the golden-backed beetle, looked visibly embarrassed. "Didn't you say you bought it to eat? Why don't you eat it in front of everyone? If you can eat it, I'll admit defeat today. If not, sell it to me for 8,000 deal?" I didn't want to entertain him, but my eyes suddenly caught the small box in his hand. It contained a black and white insect. "Is that iron-plated beetle yours?" The iron-plated beetle had the toughest exoskeleton among arthropods. Unlike ordinary insects that could be crushed underfoot, it could even withstand being run over by a car. If the beetle symbolized strength, then the iron-plated beetle stood for defense. "So what if it's mine?" "If it's yours, let's make a bet. I'll eat the golden-backed beetle in front of everyone. In exchange, you'll give me the iron-plated beetle deal?" Hearing this, Bug Enthusiast hesitated. The iron-plated beetle was native to the Americas, and he had waited a long time to get one. He was reluctant to part with it. With so many people around, many of whom were acquaintances, he didn't want to lose face. Suddenly, he gritted his teeth, eyes fierce. "Fine, you can have it. But you must eat it." He didn't believe I had the guts. No problem, I agreed instantly. About 5 minutes later, a transparent box was handed to me. Inside was the golden-backed dung beetle, crawling around restlessly. As soon as the box opened, I grabbed it in one swift motion. Compared to the twisted, mutated creatures of my previous life, this dung beetle could actually be considered the finest meal. Just twist off its head, eat it, and decisively tossed it into my mouth, crunching as I chewed. Seeing this, crowd instantly fell silent. He actually ate it raw. They thought I would at least fry it first. After all, things like dragonflies and grasshoppers are usually fried, but I actually ate it raw. With a gulp, I swallowed it all. I extended my hand, signaling Bug Enthusiast to hand over the iron-plated beetle. Bug Enthusiast's face turned pale. Reluctantly, he took out the small box. Wait, I want that iron-plated beetle. Before I could take it, an exceedingly arrogant voice rang out. Then, a young man arrived, flanked by 2 burly men wearing black vests. It's in Honghai, the young master of Fenghua Group. Someone recognized the young man and exclaimed. Others gasped in realization, remembering the rumors about in Honghai. This guy was a true prodigal. He lacked nothing in terms of indulgence. Eating, drinking, and entertainment had it all. Every day, he spends massive amounts of money, just to seek something new. It seems he's tired of playing with birds, and has moved on to insects. Hearing his name, I narrowed my eyes slightly. In Honghai and his red rhino mech. If I remembered correctly, this very in Honghai would later become the top fighter in all of Ning City. The power of the red rhino mech was immense. Its charge could even shatter an entire mountain. In the years before the apocalypse, I lived under in Honghai's control. If I hadn't secretly slipped away during a food search, I would have long since become a pile of bones. But that was my past life. In this life, the ruler of Ning City will be me. Golden-backed beetle genes successfully absorbed. Tier 1 General Heavy Mech advanced to Titan Mech form. Name: Giant God Mecha Level, First Stage. Exclusive Module: Titan. Strength increased by 50%. The mech can continue to upgrade after this advancement. Seeing the attributes of the Titan mech. With this realization, I immediately took the iron-plated beetle from Bug Enthusiast's hand. And Honghai noticed this, smiling mischievously. Would you sell me that bug? I'll pay double the price. Sorry, I don't need money. Seeing more and more people gathering, I frowned and decided to leave. With so many people around, if mutations broke out, even I wouldn't be able to handle it. I said, give me that bug. Didn't you hear me? Seeing me reject him so decisively, Honghai sneered coldly. He signaled his bodyguards to block my path. Facing the 2 men closing in, a flicker of annoyance rose in my heart. In an instant, the overwhelming killing intent from my past life erupted. The 2 men were so terrified they didn't dare to approach. Interesting, there aren't many in Ning City. Who dare to disrespect me? Kid, don't push your luck. And Honghai stepped in front of me, reaching out to snatch the box from my hand. I slapped his hand away, and walked out without looking back. The crowd was stunned. This wasn't just about disrespect anymore. This was outright humiliating in Honghai. And Honghai's face turned livid. He shot a furious glare at his bodyguards. The bodyguards gritted their teeth, and lunged toward my back. Just as they were about to strike, a golden light burst forth behind me. The next moment, sleek black and gold mech, towering at 3 meters, appeared. Its front was a dark black, gleaming with an icy glow. At this moment, the Titan mech fully enveloped my body. From afar, it radiated an ancient and imposing aura. Oh my god, what is that? It looks like a mech from a sci-fi movie. Incredible, could this be alien technology? For a moment, the exhibition hall buzzed with chatter. As the mech appeared, I spun around sharply. With a single punch, I shattered both bodyguards' legs. Then, I stepped up to Honghai, looking up at the massive mech towering over him. And Honghai's heart was filled with panic. He forced himself to remain calm and spoke. My friend, let's talk this out. My father is the chairman of Fenghua Group. We have no shortage of wealth or resources. How about we pretend none of this ever happened? How about we be friends? Hey, I chuckled lightly. The Titan mech's massive arm rose high, sending a wave of oppressive force like a blizzard. And Honghai collapsed to the ground, trembling. Facing such a monster, the fact that he didn't lose control of his bladder showed his remarkable mental resilience. I didn't attack him. I simply clenched my fist in the air and then lowered it. Relax. I won't harm you now. We'll meet again. After speaking, I pushed off with my feet, springing away like a rocket. Watching me leave, and Honghai's face twisted with rage. I'll remember you, kid. So what if you have a mech? My family has military connections. If the army gets involved, it won't matter if your mech is 3 meters tall, or 30 meters, it'll still be crushed. What he didn't know was that once mutations began, most materials would fundamentally change. At that time, all conventional weapons would become useless scrap. The only thing people could rely on would be their awakened innate mechs. After leaving the exhibition, I deactivated my mech form and returned home. The reason I didn't harm in Honghai was was purely because I wanted his mech core. The mech core is the most crucial component of any mech wielder. It only drops after someone awakens their innate mech. For this reason alone, I decided to let in Hong Hai live. Sitting at my desk, I took out the iron-plated beetle I had just acquired from Bug Enthusiast. The iron-plated beetle, also known as the armored beetle, is a species of Coleoptera insect, famous for its exceptionally tough exoskeleton. Wasting no time, I heated up a pan and fried it, a dash of cumin and chili powder for flavor. Compared to the golden-backed beetle, the iron-plated beetle's meat was tougher, especially the hard outer shell, which felt like chewing on eggshells. I suspect that if I hadn't fried it, I wouldn't have been able to bite through. Swallowing it down, translucent countdown screen appeared in front of me. Iron-plated beetle genes acquired. Modifying Tier 1 Insect Soldier General Mech. Modification time: 59 minutes and 58 seconds. It seems that the Insect Soldier General Mech is a foundational mech early on, and all modifications are based on this model. I wonder if stronger general mechs will appear for modification later. I pondered the thought. After the apocalypse began, all life forms evolved at an incredible pace, not to mention the eventual large-scale invasions from other planets, and even the appearance of so-called gods. I distinctly remembered one god from my past life named Quentin. It had the body of a bug with a human head. If I could absorb it, I wonder how powerful the resulting mech would be. Maybe then I could even slay gods. Setting aside my chaotic thoughts, I refocused on the successfully modified Titan mech in front of me. The Titan mech had remarkable strengths, but its weaknesses were also evident. Low defense and slow speed were significant flaws. For defense, I can switch to the Celestial Domain mech, so there's no need to worry too much. The main issue is agility. That desperately needs improvement. While I was lost in thought, a knock came at the door. Who is it? I opened the door. What greeted me was a pair of long, fair legs. Looking up, my eyes met an impressive sight. Where are you looking? Disgusting. The heavily made-up woman looked at me with disdain, quickly taking a step back. Listen up. You'd better pay your rent in full tomorrow, and move out. Got it? But tomorrow hasn't come yet, has it? Why the rush? I stared at the woman before me, my expression odd. I just hoped she'd live long enough to collect that rent. Seeing me still staring at her intently, the woman became even more agitated. After a tirade of complaints, she deducted all my deposit under various pretexts. But I wasn't in the mood to argue with her. Iron-plated beetle genes absorbed successfully. Tier 1 Insect Soldier General Mech advanced to Celestial Domain Mech form. Name: Sky Realm Mecha Level, First Order. Exclusive Module: Celestial Domain. Increases physical resistance by 50%. 20% resistance to elemental and mental damage. The mech can continue to upgrade after advancement. The Celestial Domain mech was even more powerful than I imagined, especially with its 50% physical damage reduction. Even attacks from Tier 1 monsters would pose no threat to me. The 20% elemental resistance was also invaluable. It not only countered elemental attacks like wind, fire, and lightning, but also mental damage. In my past life, mental attacks from those monsters had caused me significant trouble. This time, I can finally take revenge without restraint. Before I could calm my excitement, another notification sounded. Notice: continue absorbing 3 more insect genes. Fusion of mech forms can be completed. I was stunned. My heart pounded violently in my chest. This was the ultimate god tier ability. Once fusion occurs, the weaknesses of individual mech forms would be compensated. At that point, I'd have no shortcomings. This is truly worthy of a super divine talent. Its effects are game-changing. Hey, I'm talking to you. Did you hear me? Are you deaf or blind? Suddenly, the woman's eyes turned blue-red. Her bulging eyeballs stared at me intently. She's mutating early. I was slightly alarmed. Celestial Domain mech instantly enveloped my body. Why won't you listen to me? The woman slowly advanced toward me. Her flesh and blue D continued to swell. In the blink of an eye, she transformed into a 3-meter-tall giant of flesh with sharp claws. The next moment, she swung her claws at me with a howl. I sidestepped, my combat skills from my past life effortlessly kicking in. Her claws, slicing through the Celestial Domain mech like butter, easily embedded themselves into the concrete wall behind me. Seeing her attack miss, she withdrew her claws. She continued her attack. This time, I didn't dodge. I wanted to test the defensive capabilities of the Celestial Domain mech. Her claws scraped across the mech's surface, emitting a sharp, screeching noise. After the strike, her claws were a blue dye mess. But the Celestial Domain mech didn't even have a scratch. Inside the mech, I felt nothing at all. The Celestial Domain mech's power was truly astonishing. Now it's my turn. I slammed the woman into the wall. Then I switched to the Titan mech. With a single punch, I crushed her head. Mutant Blood Flesh Tier 1 Kelv. Material obtained: Agile Blood Core. Quality: Common. Can slightly improve agility when used for mech enhancement. Blood Flesh mutants are indeed the most common type. Their usual drop is a blue D core. Typically, these enhance strength and defense. Agility-enhancing cores are rare, though they exist. I didn't expect to be so lucky. Getting a blue D core that enhances agility. After some thought, I decided to use this blue D core on the Titan mech. I applied a bit of force with my hand, and with a crisp crack, the agile blood core shattered. Dark red liquid gushed out, dripping onto the mech's surface. The Titan mech, after absorbing the blue D, suddenly gained a dark red thread on its surface, which shimmered faintly from time to time. Agile blood core consumed. 1. Agility plus 1. 4 agility points are still not enough. If agility isn't enough, then I'll find the fastest insect species. I identified 2 options. One option is the dragonfly. The other is the tiger beetle. In terms of speed alone, the dragonfly is faster. It also has flight capabilities. However, the air environment is more complex than land, and much more dangerous. For the sake of survival, it's better to delay that for now. So, I'll choose the tiger beetle. The tiger beetle can move a distance 171 times its body length per second. Scaling that to my 18-meter height, that's a speed of over 1,000 kilometers per hour, nearly matching the speed of sound. With my next target set, I prepared to continue searching for more insect information. Suddenly, my phone on the desk buzzed. Answering it, a deep voice of a middle-aged man came through. Is this Mr. Huang Ting? Get to the point. I'm very busy. My name is Chu Jiazheng. I have great admiration for the item in your possession. Additionally, some strange occurrences have been happening here. Perhaps you know something about them. Chu Jiazheng, the richest man in Ning City, spanning real estate and dining? Compared to him, the Fenghua Group was nothing. In my previous life, and Honghai controlled Ning City, only because Chu Jiazheng wasn't around. I'd like to invite you to visit my place, Mr. Huang Ting. What do you think? Faced with Chu Jiazheng's invitation, I agreed immediately. During the early stages of mutation, rules were chaotic. Being alone was ultimately too risky. Having a powerful ally for support would make the transition smoother. It's said that Chu Jiazheng owns a massive botanical garden, filled with rare flowers and plants. Insects of all kinds abound there. Although tiger beetles are common, they're hard to find in this urban jungle of steel. On one hand, I could rely on Chu Jiazheng's power to survive the mutation phase. On the other, I could find a tiger beetle for mech modification. It's a win-win situation. Alright, I've already sent a driver to wait downstairs. Unfortunately, I'm too busy to come myself. Otherwise, I'd personally greet you. At this moment, in the giant botanical garden, Chu Jiazheng waved his hand, summoning over 40 guards in black. He ordered them to spread out to various corners. His daughter, Xu Wei, was puzzled. Father, I thought you were free. What's with all these people? Chu Jiazheng chuckled. You've seen that video. You understand the significance of that mech. I'm just being cautious for safety's sake. Xu Wei wasn't dumb. With a quick thought, she understood her father's intent. Indeed, with such a terrifying mech present, it's better to err on the side of caution. An hour later, I arrived at the botanical garden. As I entered, I saw Chu Jiazheng seated under a mushroom-shaped pavilion. Beside him was a stunningly beautiful girl. From the moment I entered, Chu Jiazheng was scrutinizing me. Seeing how composed I was, his eyes revealed a hint of surprise. To his astonishment, he sensed an aura of a worthy opponent. Interesting. Someone who makes me feel this way is usually an experienced veteran of business wars. It's the first time I've encountered someone this young. Even more interesting, I actually felt a tinge of fear. Mr. Huang Ting, thank you for accepting my invitation. Just call me Huang Ting. I came here for 2 reasons. First, to discuss those strange occurrences you mentioned. Second, I need to borrow some of your influence. Hearing this, even someone as experienced as Chu Jiazheng was momentarily stunned. Then he chuckled bitterly. You certainly are straightforward. Being straightforward is necessary. After all, the end of the world is near. As I answered, I glanced around. With careful observation, I quickly noticed the hidden black-clad guards around us. Following my gaze, Chu Jiazheng's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Every place I was staring at had his own people. Who exactly is this young man, a monster or something? Ha ha ha, the end of the world? Mayan language? Have you been watching too many movies? Xu Wei couldn't help but laugh. She had thought I was some big shot, but didn't expect me to be so ridiculous. Could it be possible that their prediction was 1 round short? That the real end of the world is not in 2012, but in 2024? I calmly explained, then looked at Chu Jiazheng. Mr. Chu, don't test me. You don't need to fear me either. As long as you don't harm my interests, I won't take action against you. On the contrary, we might even reach some cooperation. Chu Jiazheng's face showed some embarrassment. This was the first time he had been so straightforwardly called out. He quickly changed the subject. Is what you said about the end of the world true? Of course, if I'm not mistaken, the strange things you mentioned should be related to this. Upon hearing this, Chu Jiazheng's heart sank. He looked at Xu Wei, indicating she should leave. Let her see it as well. After all, in 2 days, we'll all go through it. Seeing my certainty, Chu Jiajun hesitated for a moment. Then, he led me to a corner of the garden. There was a peculiar building there, guarded by 10 black-clad bodyguards. Each of them was armed. Boss, the situation is bad. The leader of the guards handed over a tablet. It displayed surveillance footage. It was divided into 4 areas. In the first 3 screens, most of the areas were filled with strange flesh. I glanced at it, and immediately recognized it as the most common type of Blue D corpse. Blood corpses have no intelligence. They are extremely Blue D thirsty. They devour everything living in sight. Even their own kind is not spared. Once they reach the 4th stage, the massive Blue D corpses turn into Blue D nests, giving birth to more Blue D corpses. In my previous life, these things caused endless headaches for everyone. The last screen showed something strange. It featured a tall woman, about 2 meters in height. She had her head lowered at first. As if sensing someone watching her, she suddenly looked up, revealing a pair of jet black eyes. She then lunged at the camera, like a beast, and with one swift movement, crushed it with her large hands. Upon seeing this, everyone in the room, except me, trembled in shock. It's actually an elite-level mutant. I never expected an elite-level mutant to appear before the disaster even began. She's the captain of my bodyguard squad. Her name is Lisa. She started acting strangely yesterday. I had no choice but to lock her up here, though you don't know what I mean by elite-level mutant. Mr. Chu keenly sensed something unusual. He explained it to me just now. After listening, I simply nodded. Then I pushed the door open, intending to go inside. These mutants can drop valuable materials, so there's no way I'm missing out on that. Wait, entry is forbidden here. The bodyguard captain, rifle slung, blocked me with his other arm. Liang, don't be rude to our guest. Mr. Chu's expression changed slightly, as he watched me closely. Sorry, Liang's only concerned for your safety. I wasn't bothered by it. Then, with a single thought, the Titan mech instantly attached itself to me. Seeing this display, Mr. Chu could no longer keep calm, his face full of shock. Even Shu Hui's eyes lit up. She specializes in materials science, yet she had no idea where my mech came from, or what material it was made of. As for Liang, he was too stunned to speak. All he could do was watch me stride toward the peculiar building. Once he regained his composure, Mr. Chu stepped forward and patted Liang on the shoulder. Huang Ting is no ordinary man. Treat him as you would treat me. Huang Ting is no ordinary person. From now on, treat him as you would treat me. Understood? Liang's throat moved. He nodded firmly. That moment, the sound of rapid gunfire suddenly rang out, accompanied by the roars of monsters and the cursing of others. Not good. Something's wrong. Captain Liang's expression changed. He instinctively looked at Mr. Chu. Mr. Chu's face also tightened. He knew how terrifying those monsters could be. It took 30 of his men to capture just 4 of them. That was with firearms. Without them, the DATH toll would have at least doubled. He's been through countless storms, and he's better at keeping his cool than Liang. He was calmer under pressure than Liang. He lifted his gaze to me, thoughtful eyes studying me. Boss, we really should go. If we don't leave now, it'll be too late. Liang pulled up a transport vehicle, his face filled with urgency. No, I trust Huang Ting. He seems to know the origin of those monsters. Maybe that mech of his was designed specifically to counter them. Chu Jiajun didn't leave. His years of experience told him I definitely had a trump card. Knowing he could do little else, Liang hurriedly tapped a few buttons on his tablet, bringing up more surveillance feeds. It clearly showed the Blue D creature that had been in room 2 suddenly running amok. It had already burst out of the room, and was slaughtering the guards inside. The guards here were even better equipped than the ones outside, but they were still helpless against such a colossal Blue D creature. They had no way to stop it. Many of the guards had been ripped to shreds, their remains absorbed into the creature's body. With each new feeding, its aura grew more and more violent. Those remaining guards gave up resisting, scrambling to escape. At that moment, Black and Gold mech stepped into the building, going against their direction. Boss, all those men were no match for that monster. Can your guest really handle it? Liang still doubted I could stand against that beast. Father, let's ask Huang Ting to come back first. Let the military handle a monster like that. It was the first time Chu Wei had seen something so blue-eyed, and she felt a bit queasy. Still, she fought the nausea to speak her mind. After the 2 of them tried to dissuade him, Chu Jiajun realized he was being too hasty. Liang, go bring him back. He waved his hand, signaling Liang to head inside. Boss, it's too late. He's already engaged with that monster. Liang hurriedly handed the tablet to Chu Jiajun. On screen, I was already clashing with the enraged Blue D fiend. Unlike the sluggish zombies in horror movies, this Blue D fiend was colossal, stronger and no less agile, either. Its massive fist grazed my body, smashing into the marble floor below. Network of cracks, instantly splintered out. That's quite some power. As expected, even with the agility blue D core, the Titan mech was still a bit slow. In that case, I'll just finish this quickly. He took a bold stride forward, slamming straight into the monster's chest. The 4-meter-tall blue D fiend was sent flying. It slammed into the wall behind it. Seeing this, Liang swallowed hard. Is that even human? When we tried to move this monster before, we had to use 2 10-ton cranes. That's why I told you to treat him with respect. Now you see the kind of power he has. Whether it's him himself, or the one behind him who can research. A team capable of developing such a powerful mech is not to be trifled with. Moreover, the appearance of these monsters and Lisa's transformation fill me with a deep sense of unease, as if something big is about to happen. Mr. Chu felt not just shock, but also worry. He thought more deeply than Liang. The secret behind the appearance of these monsters was the main reason he was willing to drop his pride and befriend me. On the screen, I gave the blue D fiend no chance to breathe. I charged in once more, my fist slamming into its chest. Currently, the Titan mech has no extra modules attached, which would be like skills in a game. So all I could rely on were basic physical attacks. Even so, the blue D fiend couldn't withstand it. In the next second, my massive iron fist punched straight through the creature's body, blowing out the wall behind it. Before coming to a stop, Mutant Blood Fiend, Tier 1, Keld. Material obtained, Strength Blood Core. Material name, Strength Blood Core. Effect, when used to enhance a mech, slightly increases strength. A crimson glow emerged from the blue D corpse, and then a Strength Blood Core filled with dark red liquid appeared. I grabbed it in one swift motion and headed out. From the surveillance footage earlier, I could tell that the elite level mutant Lisa had become was extremely fast. If I fought her now, I'd definitely lose. Better to find a tiger beetle first, upgrade my mech, and take her on later. As for the other 2 blue D fiends, they could still be of use. Then deactivated my mech, and walked out slowly. Chu Wei was the first to rush over. How strange, that huge mech, where did you hide it? What kind of technology is this? Hearing her question, I felt a bit awkward. I only knew that I could summon my personal mech, but I honestly had no idea where it came from. I didn't know what kind of technology was used. Fortunately, Chu Jiajun stopped Chu Wei from continuing her nonsense. He pulled her back. To be able to deal with such monsters, you truly are a promising young man. At this point, Liang also stepped forward. With his head lowered, he respectfully said, Mr. Huang Ting, I give up. It was my fault earlier. You can deal with me however you wish. It's a small matter. In time, you'll see. Dealing with a mere blue D fiend is nothing. I first made a humble remark, then looked toward Chu Jiajun. Mr. Chu, I need your help with something.